All right, everybody, welcome. We're going to first of all install Python so that we can write our Python scripts. If you already have Python installed, you do not need to go through this. You can skip through this video. But for those of you that don't have Python, let's go ahead and start that real quick. All we have to do is say Python download, right, at Google. And right here, python.org, if you click this link that says download Python, as you can see here, it says download the latest version of Python. And right here, download Python 3.10.7 as the time of making this video. It might be a different version. That's going to be perfectly fine. Nothing that we're going to do is going to be heavily reliant on the version. So you can just simply click this button and go through the prompts and everything will be sorted out for you. That is it for installing Python. In the next video, we're going to talk about downloading VS Code and installing some extensions for that so that everything works properly and smoothly for you. All right, everybody, let's install VS Code. Again, we're at the Google search bar here because we're going to say Visual Studio Code download. Make sure you so Visual Studio Code. Well, don't know what happened there. Code download. Okay, and it's going to be, this says Python, don't worry, I don't know why it says that. So it should be the number one thing in the Google search results, download Visual Studio Code, code.visualstudio.com. I'm going to click this link. It's going to bring me directly to the download page where everything is going to be that we need. Wait for this to download for a moment. The internet that I'm currently using at a hotel that I'm at is very, very slow. So we have our options here. We have download Visual Studio Code. We have versions for Windows, versions for Mac, and even if for some reason you're doing this from Linux. So you'll literally just go through the installation. It's very simple. However, once you get this downloaded, so pause this, install it, and once you get done downloading it, we will continue with downloading the extensions. So this is Visual Studio Code here. The first thing that I'd like you to do is download and make sure a couple of extensions are installed. So if you're looking at a screen kind of like this, you'll find on the left-hand side something that says extensions that has a bunch of boxes. It probably will not have this red clock for you. That's just because I have some things I need to update, which is fine. But I'm going to show you there are 3 things that I highly recommend. Okay. So the first of which is Indent Rainbow. You can pause it a second to make sure this is exactly the same one that I have. This is very, very useful. This will actually, as you can see, it has different colors depending on how much you've indented because Python, everything is separated by indentation, and that can be very difficult to see. And you can run into a lot of errors that are not so obvious if you don't have your indentation correct. So this will put different colors depending on the level of indentation. The next thing that you'll download is this. Python, just take a moment to take a look at it really quickly. It'll say IntelliSense, PyLance, linting, debugging, multi-threaded, remote, Jupyter Notebooks. This has everything. This has everything. I also have PyLance installed. If you wanted to just download this, I'm sure it'll be fine. But I also have a little bit extra. Regardless, honestly, either one of these will be just fine. The next thing is right below this, and this is the final extension that I recommend you download. It's called Rainbow Brackets. So in the first example that I showed you, we have rainbow indentation, which puts different colors depending on the level of indentation. And this one colors different parentheses and brackets because sometimes we can have multiple things inside of parentheses, multiple times. So having each one different colors, that way you know when one is open and one is closed, which one you're inside of, whenever you have your cursor at. This is very, very useful for that reason. So go ahead and download and install this. And that's all the extensions that we need. The last thing I'll go over really quickly is how I want you to set up your environment here. And on my desktop, you see I have a folder. So I recommend you just create a folder, right? So if I just right click, create the folder, okay, name it whatever you want. And then once you're in Visual Studio Code, you'll go to File, Open Folder, and you simply navigate to that folder. For this one, it's right here. I have Python for Cyber, so you can name it whatever you want, and it will open up Visual Studio Code, and it will be inside. And this is just a Python file that I have here. Some real quick functionality if I wanted to add a file. So let me delete this one. If I wanted to add a file, there are two different things that I can do. The first of which is I can just click this little plus sign, and if you hover over it, it says new file. You see this looks like a file, and I also have right here folder, so you can take a look at that, or you can right click and say new file. Okay. And in order to run our Python files, we have to give it a special extension. So just like you saw a second ago, it'll be example.py. And this is every single .py file is ran by Python that you downloaded. What you actually downloaded when you downloaded Python was an interpreter program. So it will take our code in these files and it will translate or interpret them to machine language. That's all for setting up your environment. I hope that helped. Let's move on to the fundamentals.